What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see behind me, we have the Corolla. If you haven't watched my latest video, we did a crash report and round recap of the last drift round. Unfortunately, we had a bit of an accident and destroyed the car. So in this episode and for the ongoing episodes, I don't know how it's all going to be structured as of yet, as we don't know how much we're going to be able to film, how it's going to go down. But in this episode, obviously we're getting into the brunt of fixing the car. So if you'd watched my last video on the crash, we had Mitch from Blade Panel and Paint pull the front tower back out. We assessed all the damage, showed you guys all the damage and show you the crash. So go back and watch that video if you'd like to check that out. Moving into today, we're making a start. So we have a lot to do. We're going to be working on all different areas. A couple of the boys and my old man are going to come through and in and out of the videos. We're all going to be doing different bits and pieces, and we're just going to try and film it and put it into these episodes for you. Starting from the top, obviously as you can see here at the front, the car's quite beat up and there's a lot of stuff missing. So the first thing you'll see is the supercharger is missing. We sent that off to Kappa Performance over in South Australia. They're one of my major sponsors that have helped and supported this build, and we've sent that off to go get checked. The impact had hit the front of the supercharger, so we had to make sure that it was all good. And at the same time, I'm pleased to let you guys know that we have upgraded the supercharger and it's going to be bigger too. So
first time here.
First time for Ryan to hear. So it's been a busy few weeks trying to organise it. The round was about 2 weekends ago now. So we've just been in talks with all our sponsors and partners, making plans, and it takes a lot of time. So it's one thing doing the work, but also the logistics side of it actually takes a lot of time. And we've had a lot of parts and partners come on board and help. As you guys saw in the last video, we have new tees that have been designed as well. They're going to come out. We'll talk more on that a bit later. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. And thanks to people like Kappa Performance and some of our other partners, they're making this rebuild possible. We only have like 10 days to the next round. And yeah, the front of the car needs to be fully redone. We're putting the radiator in the boot and some other bits and pieces, but we'll walk you all through it. And yeah, so stick around for this video anyway, guys. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, so getting into the video today, guys, we're going to do a bit of talking. I'll try not to ramble too much, but as you can see, obviously the whole front of the car was smashed. So our old radiator, if you come over here, is fully bananaed. If you look side on, it's like actually fully bent in half and twisted, and then it broke all the stuff off the bottom. So that radiator was a custom PWR radiator that we've run on this car for a long time, and it's really hard to replace and they're really expensive. Obviously now we work with Phoenix radiators. They've been a part of all my builds for about the last, it'd have to be like 6 to 7 years now. So it's been a long time we've been working with them. As soon as they found out and I spoke to them about what happened, they were quick to jump on and show us options and come up with some ideas with us and work with us on getting a new intercooler for the front. And then I'd told them that I think the best move and what I really wanted to do with this car was put the radiator in the boot. As much as it's so much more work now, changing and reconfiguring the whole car, this car has been like an evolution over the last 8 years of owning it. And we just keep adding on, changing things, and it's not really ever been like start fresh and build it the way it should be from the beginning. It's just been like an NA combo, then we threw a blower on and made an intercooler work, changed the tube work, and just didn't ever just take it back to a clean base and start again. While it's as smashed as it is and how much we have to redo, I just think now is the right time. As much as it's so much work and such a short deadline, I just don't want to half-ass it and just cause myself too many problems later and then have to buy parts that just aren't right for the combo. So basically
what Mitch is saying is he likes a challenge.
I like a challenge, yes, but
And do it all-nighters.
But also I just want it to be right. So I have a couple of cool ideas that we did on another project that we didn't actually get to show you guys. And obviously, as everybody knows, like I build race cars here at Thunder Motorsport. So I have a couple of cool things that we've tried that we haven't got to release to everybody that we've made. And the intercooler is one of them. And I'm excited to actually work on that and show you guys that. So we'll have to make sure that we film all that properly, and we'll get into that at a better stage. But thanks to the guys at Phoenix Radio, that's what I was getting to. These guys have always looked after me over the last 6, 7 years I've worked with them. As soon as they found out that the car was smashed, they worked with me to get products here as fast as they could. I went backwards and forwards with Ben in New Zealand, and yeah, as soon as he found out the intercooler was here in a couple of days, we worked together on working out an idea with the radiator and what size would fit. and as soon as it was done, it was sent and over here. So I can't thank them enough. They've made the process so much easier for me, and yeah, obviously we have a lot of work, and just being able to work with companies like this just make this part at least that little bit easier. So moving on, obviously the front of the car smashed, so our custom headlights, our custom guard, and everything in the front is obviously destroyed. If you saw, and as I touched base on earlier, the car did go on a chassis machine, so they pulled it and got the tower back to where it needed to be. We'll probably need to make some sort of bracing and tie it all back in just to make sure that it's all good. The whole tube front is getting cut off and redone again at this point in time. That's the plan. The car, to give you a rundown, if you didn't watch the last video, the car basically had moved the tower over, I think it was about 20 mil over, and then went up a little bit as well. So it went on a complete chassis jig and pulled back square. We're just worried about the tower more than anything. Obviously the tube work can be replaced. But my biggest issue and concern was that we run a full tubular front caster arm bracket pickup point. So everything of the cross member forward is tube frame, and obviously that was bent in the crash as well. So they've pulled it all and got it to where they think is straight, but for me, I just think, I'm not sure. I need to like really do some measurements and have a look at where everything's sitting, how the suspension geometry looks, and decide whether or not we're going to cut it off and do it again. I do kind of want to do it again because, as I said before, it is actually a major evolution, this car. We built it NA, then realised when we went supercharged that there was bars in the way and things going on that we had to change. And it's just kind of getting to the point now where we kind of need to build the car to suit what we're building and doing now, rather than trying to add on to what was already there. The deadline's the hardest point at this time, but I feel like a little bit of hard work, a couple of hours, we can just do it right, and then it'll be really good. So I think the plan is, at this point in time, is to cut it off again from where we've made it already and make it fresh and do it right. And then it's going to make it easier to place everything in place where we want to. But at the same time, talking about, I guess, the structure of how we're going to get it to where we're going to go to, we need to know where the headlights are going to line up, where the fenders line up. And then once we cut all this away, we don't have any reference anymore. So I kind of want to try and make the transition as easy as I can without creating too much more work for ourselves. So
I think that's what you were saying, because the car, when it went through the evolutions, wasn't symmetrical, and it's so far from factory, there's no reference to what would be square. Yeah. That's why it was hard to try and get back to where you want to be, right?
Yeah, well, it's just really hard. Like I built this car a long time ago, so obviously fab work and understanding and chassis and suspension geometry and stuff like that, it all changes as we evolve and get further along in drifting. And I did this front end probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, the actual caster arm bracket pickup points and stuff. And if I was to do it again, I'd probably do it totally different. But also at the same time too, with what's on the line, we're going to the final round where we're leading the championship, and I don't know how far I want to put myself out of the comfort zone of the unknown without creating too much more work and drama for ourselves. Obviously, we're not going to get any testing, so we're going to the track completely blind. And like, we know that the engine works. Obviously, we're going to have a new supercharger, but we know we can make all the mechanical side work as long as we don't have any bad luck and some bad problems. But for me, I don't know how far I want to go with changing anything too much. So whether obviously the accident has pushed everything across, and we've pulled it back square, Mitch has pulled it back square to the best that he could with the references that he took. But yeah, it's a KE70 with a full S13 front end. So nothing really lines up to any factory specs. We don't have factory rad supports or anything like that to be able to get any reference off of. So I need to go through and check and make sure the caster arm brackets haven't moved excessively too far one way or up or down or anything like that. And then we just got to decide how we're going to attack it. So time's the biggest thing. If I was to do it right, I'd just cut it all off, take the time and do it how we need to do it. But along with putting the radiator in the boot and the custom intercooler that we're going to make and everything else to go with it, we're going to be tight on time. So and obviously we still got to get to the dyno. If we can test it, we'll test it. But I don't see testing happening at all. It's just going to be a push to make it as it is, and we just got to do our best. And yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. So obviously there's a lot of rambling going on here, but that's sort of the breakdown at the moment. In terms of while we're at the front here, like my plan, I guess we may as well talk about it now. My plan is to make a full custom intercooler. So a few years ago, we were building a project with Mike from WA Racing Developments, a long-term friend and partner that we work with in our tuning, our customers' cars. He helps me with all my personal stuff. He come to America with me when we drifted in America. in Forrest Wang's car, and I've learned a lot off him, and he's shared a lot of helpful knowledge in terms of how he builds race cars. He's worked on supercar teams, drag teams, circuit racing teams. He's done everything. So he's really knowledgeable, and we tried to work on a custom intercooler. He's done it in the past before with a couple of cars. Phoenix don't actually have a intercooler that like an intercooler core that I wanted to run on this car, and basically it's just suited to like the V8 stuff. So on like a RB26 or a 2J or any sort of 6-cylinder combo, you have an inline 6, and then you have the intake plenum on the left or the right hand side, not out the top. Obviously being a V series motor like your V6, V8, the intake plenum goes on top. And then I guess depending on what car it is and what the design of the engine is, all the LS stuff comes forward, unless you go an aftermarket intake manifold where it comes up the top. But pretty much any LS combo goes directly forward. So obviously, as you can see with this car, it goes forward. And before we had the the intercooler pipe come down and around and all the way around, and it made for a very long intake pipe. You can see on the floor over there. Don't have to go too far, but obviously you can see it's quite long. And if you don't know, having long cooler pipes creates lag, is what they call it. And so we want to try and, while we're at this point and we're redoing it all, I want to try and make it shorter pipes, more efficient, and it work better. And some companies make intercoolers, particularly for the V8 stuff, where it has a port that goes directly down into the intercooler. So your pipe is literally only this long, and then the core points the opposite way to like how a normal turbo one works. So this is obviously a turbo style intercooler that you typically see on like an RB or a 2J or any sort of normal intercooler. So the one that I'm talking about, the cores and the fins go the other way. So the inlet comes in the top and then the ports come out the bottom, whereas this goes in one side and then out the other. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn, I've got a brand new Phoenix intercooler in the box, and we're going to turn this intercooler, or intercooler this type, into a top feed. And we have an interesting way of doing it, and it's going to be easy to show you guys as we fab it, and we'll talk about it as we go through it. But we're basically going to turn one of these into a top feed, and then still retain the side feed out for the hot side into the blower, and it's just going to clean everything up. So whereas before we had the intercooler and the radiator in here, it was all jam-packed at the front. The headlights literally didn't even fit in there. That's why we made custom headlights, and the intercooler sat really far out, and it was all within a couple of mil of the pulleys in the front. We couldn't fit an oil cooler or nothing in there. So now the plan is that we're going to make this intercooler fit in nicely in line with the headlights or behind, and then it's going to allow us to have way more room because the radiator's in the back now. And then the port is literally just going to go, or the charge pipe from the intercooler to the manifolds is literally going to go straight in the top of it. So like it's going to be that long, cool all the air down, and then the pipe out of the intercooler will just literally go like that and straight into the supercharger. So the pipes will literally be significantly smaller. We'll have a bigger supercharger, and it should just make way more power and be way more efficient and be heaps better. So you're probably buzzing out on it at the moment. You don't have the vision that we have in how we're going to make it, and you probably haven't seen it before. But I'm excited to fab it up and show you guys what we're going to build. So we'll talk about it on a bit more of a technical side once we start building it. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, really.
You're telling me the thing's going to be faster than what it was before.
Well, I don't know if it'll be faster, but it'll probably produce a lot more smoke and be a bit louder. So yeah, it'll be good. The theory behind going the bigger blower and what we're going to do is, when we originally had the deal with Kappa Performance and Vortec, the engine combo was smaller. So we only had a blower to suit the needs of what the smaller engine was. And then when we had an engine failure before we went to LZ Tour a year and a half ago, I stole the engine for another project, which was a bigger motor. And then the blower was on the smaller side of things, which was producing a lot more heat. So in terms of like the supercharger was kind of cooking the oil, the air that actually comes out of the supercharger is really hot. The Phoenix intercooler did a good job of cooling it down, but it's just a little bit too small and it's choking it up. So still made really good power. When we went to the dry sump, we had no issues with the oil temps or anything like that. But initially when we went to LZ Tour and it was wet sump still, we were having really bad problems with the oil temp getting really high. So now, obviously everything's going to move back. We're going to have way more clearance for things in the front. The tube frame will be made to suit the supercharger setup and everything in the front. It'll be way cleaner, way nicer. And yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward for it to actually get the time and well, I guess not the time because we don't have time, but it's going to get the stuff made to suit everything that's going on here and not just be add-ons over like the evolution of the car. So
what it deserves.
Yeah, it'll be good, and it'll make more grunt and it'll be cool. So yeah, it's a lot of talking, a lot of information. Don't know how much we're going to put in there, but we may as well move to the back. So that's pretty much the damage in the front. There's a few other bits and pieces, but we'll go over that later in time.
Bit of a wall ride here, mate.
A little bit. That was from the last round. It had concrete walls at the track, so of course we had to find the limit as per usual. It's only one tail light, it's not too bad. Unfortunately, this bash bar setup hits the freaking quarter panel every time you rub the wall though, so caves it in and stuffs it around. But as you'll see in the back here, obviously, if you haven't seen this car before in detail, it does run like a pretty much full factory boot rail and beaver panel. There's no fiberglass, the whole car is metal, so that's why when we hit the wall and stuff, it crumples everything and makes a mess. So there's a few different things here. Like if we had more time, I'd probably cut it completely off, tube frame it, go a bit further with it. But we never had any issue with this car because we don't run the fuel cell in the back here. This is all pretty much crumple zone, and obviously when I drive, I try not to slam the wall or anything too often. So our tracks here, we don't really have a concrete wall run track too often. We have water barriers and stuff, and this bash bar usually does quite well to protect the car. In the last few cases, it has been caving in the quarter panel, which pops the tail lights and stuff like that. But it's not the end of the world. It's just metal, so we literally just pull that back out, hit the inside with a hammer, and gets pretty good.
Overnight parts from Thailand.
Yeah, and the Thailand tail lights. But it looks all right. I mean, for the next round, it'll be fine. There's going to be barriers and stuff for the next round too, so it's still pretty presentable. We'll leave that for now. But as you see in the back, as I was saying, it's all like factory floor still, so, well, factory rail and floor. Because there's nothing in the back, it doesn't affect anything. So we've got plenty of room to stuff around with the radiator. Basically what the envision is, we're going to mount the radiator on a bit of a V. Obviously, the way that this setup is with this fuel tank, there's not a lot of room for air for the radiator to go into here. So we're probably going to mount it on a bit more of a V, and I'm going to open up the top of the boot, and then that way the air can come directly in to the radiator and we'll shroud it in. The hardest part with this is just going to be that it's a lot of custom fab work and a lot of time, and just the time in getting parts and things we need. We've got the bulk of it, but it's just all the small things. Like we already started today. We've got the radiator over there. We can go over there and talk about it, I guess. We need to make a shroud for the fans, so we're working out at the moment if we're going to do like a V style or if we're going to do it flat. And then this is a universal radiator from Phoenix, really nice bit of kit, but it doesn't have any mounts on there. So that's our biggest problem at the moment, is that we don't know how we're going to mount it. So we've just been looking, and then because there's no mounts on the radiator, we need to weld on aluminium fittings to that. So I don't have any here in stock, which was something I oversighted a little bit. And with the time that we've got, sometimes the small things like this can hold us up and then we lose a night. Obviously there's a lot of other things we can go on with tonight, so it's not that big of a deal. But if that happens later in the next week, we're going to be pushing stuff uphill to try and get to the event. So that's kind of what we're up against at the moment. We're just trying to get everything together, start mapping out what we're going to do, the plans we're going to make, how we're going to make it work. There's a few tools that I really need that I don't have that would make the job much easier, but we're just going to get through it and make it all happen. And we just got to work around the challenges that we have, and kind of is what it is. But basically that's the rundown of it. With the radiator in the boot, obviously we have to get the rad lines to the front. That's going to be the next hardest part. This car's quite tight for room underneath, and the way the rails are, how the exhaust is. It's kind of, when you build a car from scratch, you build the exhaust last, so it goes around everything. Obviously the exhaust is already made on this car, and the exhaust is in the way for the radiator line. So we're either going to have to modify the floor in the car or get creative in some other ways. And obviously the biggest thing is with the time frame we have, again, we can't just go making another exhaust. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of work, and we're just going to show you guys as much as we can and try not to talk too much. And yeah, I think that's the most of the talking you'll probably see in this video, and let's just get on with it.
Building houses now.
Action. So we are back in the workshop. It is the second or third day since we started filming for you guys. A lot of progress has been made. Quite hard to film and work, and especially on the deadline we've got. It's 8:30 on Friday. We've got literally a week till we should be really putting this car on the trailer. Hopefully before then, but usual case, we'll just see how we go. As you can see here, there is a lot of work done. So it looks a little bit different. We've got the radiator in the boot. We'll pull the boot off in a second so you can see. But radiator is mounted. We've started mounting the water pump. We've made this custom expansion tank that you see here. Fully custom built, made in-house, started from 3-inch tube. And now it is a custom expansion tank. So we'll pull the boot off in a second, but we have to interrupt this video to show you guys what we just got delivered by one of my favourite sponsors and partners of the program, Kappa Performance. Have given us back our supercharger. It arrived in time, so I'm excited for that. But we have something to show you. So I'm going to pull this out. Oh, that was easy. As you can see, it has been well looked after and it is new and ready to go. It's exciting because it is the exact same supercharger, but it has been heavily modified. So since we've received this supercharger, I believe they have released a new series where... So since they've released my supercharger that I was running, as we said in the last part of this video, the blower was never intended to be on an engine the size that we were running. It's a bit on the smaller side. It still made good power, did everything it should, but this engine would go way better with a bigger blower, basically. Maybe me just wanting a heavier foot, but this blower is my old blower, but heavily modified now. So they've released a bigger wheel and a bigger front housing for the supercharger, and we should see gains of potentially up to another 100 horsepower. So, yeah, I think it's going to be plenty. Obviously, we can still gear it up. Even before, we could have run more boost, but the temps and stuff were going through the roof because of how small the blower was. The reason why they didn't want to give us a whole new unit was because the blower that's a physical bigger size up would be a bit too harsh on the running gear and probably create a bit more other dramas that we don't want with drifting. So that's something we're going to try and test and work with them on later. Obviously, in this case, we want to try and put the car back together as fast as we can and know what works. And they've guaranteed me that this setup will be really good. So we're going to unpack this thing, show you guys the blower, and yeah, let's see what you think. We're not unpacking it.
Here we are.
No, because then it's going to sit here open and shit. Yeah. My favourite thing that I actually really love about this blower and working with Kappa and Vortec on a personal level is this little thing here. So every single supercharger that comes out the factory has a Vortec badge. Basically, is a serial number and just keeps track of it through their system. The coolest thing for this is it actually has my name on it. So this is my own personal supercharger made especially for me. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That's my favourite part of the blower. It's all the small details you probably don't really get to see in a build like this. And yeah, it's cool. So what are we on to next? We'll pull the boot off, show you guys what it looks like under the boot. I am. So you guys would have seen we've cut the boot for some airflow. We know, and I'm sure as everybody knows from building cars, if you're not familiar with building any sort of race cars to this level, it's kind of trial and error to some degree. Many things have been done to make these work, but obviously every car is different, every setup's different, and everybody has their different theories. For us, the hardest thing we have is that the car's obviously already built. So we're kind of building things around what has already been done. If I was to do it again, I'd probably do it totally different. If I had time to move the fuel cell, do the firewall different, and move everything around. but we're sort of just working with what we've got, and obviously on a short time frame, we're only putting a radiator in, we're not redesigning the whole car. So in this case here, you can see the radiator is a little bit further back than probably what you'd tend to like in if you're building a drift car from scratch. But based on the fact that the rear window is so covered by the fuel cell, I wanted to make sure that we had enough airflow. So we tilted it back just a bit more and cut out the top of the boot, as you saw. So basically, we're hoping that the theory is that the fans are going to pull cool air from the top of the boot, not just from this little hole here. So I've seen some cars and worked with some cars that have that sort of hole and work fine, but obviously we just want to try and take every precaution we can and do it right and make it work. You'll see on the back we have made this custom fan shroud. It took us probably about, I don't know how long, but there's a lot of work in making that fully removable, bolt-on, with Spau 14-inch fans. It's a bit on the bigger side, but we wanted to make sure that we're going to pull a lot of air, and obviously having it this sort of size and length, it's going to push the hot air straight out the bottom of the car too, which is pretty cool. You'll see we've pretty heavily modified the tops of the radiator and everywhere around. So we've made roll cage tube to pick up the bottom. I don't know if we'll show that because it looks pretty fucking ugly, but we've also got these top, what would you call them?
Supports.
Yeah, we've got these top supports to basically just position the radiator, and then it's secured nicely at the bottom. We've actually fully modified this radiator to how it come. So on this particular setup, we've removed the radiator cap from here, and we've made this custom expansion bottle. So basically, this is going to be the highest point for the water system. And on this side, you'll see we've put a steam port on there, and then the steam port from the front as well will all go to the top of this bottle. So basically, this is going to be the highest point. And if there's ever any air locks in the system, it should all get pushed to the top of there. And then obviously we can fill it easy as well. Don't have to take the boot off, can check the water, do everything we need. And yeah, obviously we're taking the radiator cap off there. And now that's going to be the water that goes into the bottom of there. So if you haven't seen how a rear radiator setup works, that's basically it. On this side, you'll see we have a external water pump. So we'll be deleting the water pump on the front of the engine. It's recommended that you put the water pump off the bottom of the radiator. In this case, obviously we're pretty tight for room. I didn't want to mount the pump down because obviously there's a lot of tyre debris, smoke, rocks. If the exhaust gets banged up, it could knock it and whatnot. So we've modified the radiator again and put the outlet for the water port on the bottom side of the radiator. This is a dual pass, so the water physically has to travel halfway across the radiator, down and then back this way. So that's why it's mounted as high as it is and why it's okay. The water should never be that low in the radiator, so this pump's always going to have water. We're just going to blank this one off. Instead of cutting it off, I'm just going to put a blanking cap on there. That will do the job. Basically, this little mini turbo is going to pump water to the front of the car. We're going to put a braided line on here, which just tucks underneath the fuel cell. Then we've got some room under there to notch out and make it fit underneath the car, and then we're going to make some custom alloy lines, which is the next job.
Do we have some room, do we?
Yeah, we don't have any room, but yeah, that's going to be the next biggest job, which I was about to say. We're going to have to, now that we've finished in the boot, it's not finished, obviously we still need to plumb it, but the main hard yards are done. The radiator's mounted. We just got to wait to plumb up some stuff. We're waiting on some line to come. Now we've got to do the hard part, which is making the radiator lines work underneath the car. We're going to put it on the hoist and you guys will see a bit more.
It's a big process for something that sounds simple. Just run a couple of lines.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's same as the radiator. Like we spent, it's been 2 or 3 days or two or three afternoons and nights of just trying to get this radiator mounted in here, make the fan shroud, get everything to work how it is. Like it takes so much time. You know, you kind of think like anything I've learned in the last 10 years of drifting is that anything you think you're going to do, add like another day to it. But yeah, it's just also logistics.
Except the deadline.
Well, we've got to have it done by next Saturday. But the biggest thing is like, you know, we've got the radiator in here now, but we're waiting on line to come. We ordered that today. So hopefully that comes. We're kind of at the mercy of that now with getting this all to work, but we just got to try and do what we can while we can. We still haven't touched anything on the front of the car. We're sort of just going piece by piece rather than getting ahead of ourselves and working on too much. We haven't cut the front off, haven't done nothing in the front. We just focus on the back, get this sorted. Now we're going to work on the lines because that's the next hardest job. And then like Ryan can help me with that stuff in terms of helping me hold things up, make room, cut things out of the way. Whereas when we get to the front, it's going to be a bit more time consuming in getting all the suspension geometry right, refabbing the whole front, which is a bit more, what's the word?
Skilled.
A bit more skilled, a bit more technical. Obviously, it's pretty hard when we're going to cut the whole front off. It's going to be full new tube front end, picking up the suspension geometry and whatnot, which is like, you kind of can't just have people jumping and cutting things and doing things. So it is what it is. I think we're on track all right at the moment, I say. I mean, it'd be nice if it was done already, but we're at the point now where at least one big job's done, the radiator's in, this stuff's pretty much set up now. We're just waiting on some fittings and lines to finish that off. Now we're going to move on to the hard part, and yeah, this is going to be the best bit, so can't wait to do that. Not being sarcastic, but anyway.